This changes everything for the New York Rangers, as another comparable to Igor Shesterkin getting his contract done is putting a lot of pressure on Rangers GM Chris Drury to get a Shesterkin contract extension done. And we now have our answer on whether or not the Rangers are going to extend Igor Shesterkin or not. We're going to break all of that down, but before we do, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 70% of you who watch our videos are not actually subscribed to the channel, so if you want to do yourself a favor, it's free. Hit that subscribe button so you get to stay up to date with everything New York Rangers. And without further ado, we're going to get right into it. Of course, the comparable I was talking about is Jeremy Swayman. He just signed his contract extension with the Boston Bruins, and now while it is under some different circumstances, than the New York Rangers, we can dive into why some fans and insiders believe that he is a comparable for Igor Shesterkin. And later on in the video, we're going to get into the Rangers' decision on Igor Shesterkin. But first of all, Frank Seravalli released his annual tradition of making a fool out of himself for another season by doing his 32 bold predictions for every NHL team. And one thing that was interesting here that people are starting to pick apart was the section on New York Rangers Igor Shesterkin, obviously his ongoing contract dispute, or whatever you want to call it, negotiations. I guess at this point it's not really a dispute. He's not an RFA, which we'll get into later in the video as well. But will the New York Rangers make Igor Shesterkin the highest paid goaltender in the NHL at $11.25 million per season, devoting 12% of next season's salary cap to a goaltender who, in all likelihood will spend a lot of the season on the bench, or at least 33%. He's not going to play every game. He played 55 games last year, a very good chunk and sample size, because of course Jonathan Quick was fantastic as well behind him, and he's going to be there again this season. So it is a tough pill to swallow, but Seravalli says at least it's a necessary evil. Now, I've seen a lot in the comments section of, I was saying, would you sign Shesterkin to that contract extension? I was talking maybe 11.6, 11.7, because it sounded like he wanted to be the highest paid New York Ranger in New York Rangers history, of course, at least in the salary cap era, coming in above Artemi Panarin at 11.6, 11.7, something like that. But it looks like at this point in time that the Rangers may be offering him 11.25. And like I mentioned, I saw in the comments, a lot of people were saying, don't offer this to your goaltender, find another goaltender. We have to continue to build up the team. And listen, at least in my estimation, I think this is the best goaltender in the National Hockey League, and he put up great numbers in the playoffs as well, with the Rangers going to the Eastern Conference Final, of course, last year. So lots of like from the player, of course, and do you want to pay him that much? It is a tough pill to swallow if you do give up that much percent of the salary cap to one player. But at the end of the day, the salary cap is going up, and we'll get to that as well. The salary cap is going up, and it will steadily for the foreseeable future at this point, right? But the one thing I wanted to get into too before we get to that and more statistics is, Jeremy Swayman signed recently for the Boston Bruins, and obviously there was a huge contract dispute there and holding out and whatnot. So this is from Forever Blue Shirts. Now that Jeremy Swayman ended his holdout with the Bruins, is the runway finally clear for the New York Rangers and Igor to finalize his contract before the season starts Wednesday? And I thought it was interesting as you get into the article. It makes no sense for Shesterkin to sign his contract before Swayman got his done. That is true, although Swayman is an RFA. It is different at this point. Shesterkin is seeking to become the highest paid goalie in NHL history, surpassing Carey Price's $10.5 million. That was never going to change no matter what Swayman was going to make, which I never thought it would be that much anyway in terms of Swayman. And the 26-year-old goalie for the Bruins was never able to get more than Shesterkin when all is said and done. That's exactly right. And, it's going both ways. I see it both ways on Twitter and online right now that a lot of people are saying, if you look at Shesterkin and Swayman's stats, they're essentially the same goaltender, right? Like they are very identical in stats, some a little bit different, but if you look at their playoff stats and even over the regular season, almost identical stats. So why should Shesterkin make almost $4 million more? I've been seeing it online, but it is a fair thing to say, and I want to hear all of your comments as well. So I want to see what you think in the comment section. But again, it's a lot of back and forth online right now. Another direct comparable, but somehow Shesterkin is worth nearly $4 million more a year. That is from Phil, so he's a bit confused on that as well. And from Adam, Igor Shesterkin is not a restricted free agent. He obviously is an unrestricted free agent coming up this year, and he's a little bit older as well than Jeremy Swayman, and he has an actual track record as a starting goaltender in the NHL and is a better player. That's the thing. This is the first season for Jeremy Swayman, at least when we're talking about comparables, where Jeremy Swayman's going to be the number one goaltender for his team. Igor Shesterkin has done that for seasons on end at this point. Like, we know what Igor Shesterkin is as a number one goaltender in the NHL. Swayman hasn't done it yet. Obviously, there is something there, but he hasn't done it. So is that worth $4 million more in this era of the NHL? It seems like it. And other than that, it makes total sense to compare him to Jeremy Swayman because, again, their statistics are almost identical. And, you know, the utility of Shesterkin or Shesterkin's next contract will live and die by how well he stays healthy, right? Or if he's able to stay healthy. And I thought this was an interesting dive into it because, again, a lot of people are they don't want to justify the $12 million going to Shesterkin, right? Especially if there is another comparable in Jeremy Swayman, who's getting paid significantly less than that per season. But let's not pretend him getting $12 million a year with the salary cap going up. Of course, we're going to reach $100 million as the salary cap shortly here in the next couple of years. Would be controversial. It wouldn't be because as the years went on, you know, it would make more sense. But the Rangers are in a tight spot right now, and obviously it looks like they're going to be moving off Jacob Trouba at the end of this year. That frees up $8 million right there, so that helps to pay Igor Shesterkin. Of course, that's something they got to deal with next offseason, but and you know what? Just sign Shesterkin now if you can, and then deal with that later. I think that's the type of thing that they might be looking at because, of course, we talked about last week how Shesterkin wants to get the contract done either before the season or after the season. If you let it go to after the season, some feelings, you know, if feelings get in the way, feelings get hurt, things can change. And I wanted to get into this quote from Elliot Friedman, which I thought was very interesting because it has nothing to do with numbers, but it has everything to do with what the Rangers are going to do. And he went on to say, I believe it's going to work out. I think the Rangers have made the choice that they're going to pay him. And to me, it just comes down to what the number is going to be. Until I'm told otherwise, I expect them to work it out. I believe the Rangers have made their choice, and the choice is to sign Igor Shesterkin. It sounds like he is going to be a New York Ranger. They are going to extend him. But at this point, we don't know exactly what the number is going to be. And again, from Evan, and this is a lot of back and forth on the topic. So let me know what you think in the comments. If he should get, you know, what he's asking for at this point, which is upwards of $12 million. Of course, the Rangers are not going to offer him that. So it's going to come in a bit under that. But a lot of people want him to make kind of what Jeremy Swayman's making in that area. But I just don't think that is what Shesterkin wants. Shesterkin is a UFA. He knows he holds the power. He knows he can go to free agency and somebody probably would pay him. And for my money, I mean, he is the best goaltender in the National Hockey League. And he has done it consistently. He is a number one goaltender. So in my opinion, and again, I want to hear what you have to say and let me know what you think, but in my opinion, they have to sign this guy. Of course, don't go overboard. Don't give him exactly what he wants, but they're going to have to sign this guy. It's probably going to come in at about $11 million, somewhere in that area. And I think that's what the Rangers are planning to do. And I think that's the right move because, you know, building your team from the goaltender out, especially when it's a goaltender like Shesterkin, can be a good idea because goaltenders can win you games by themselves. We've seen it in the past. We've seen it with past Stanley Cup winners as well. So it's going to be very interesting to keep an eye on. Again, Swayman is a good comparable for sure, but I think Igor Shesterkin is, you know, he's shown that he is a number one in this league. And again, he is a UFA. It's a little bit different. So let me know in the comments what you think if Igor Shesterkin should get north of $11 million. I saw a lot of people not on board with that. So it's going to be very interesting to see what the Rangers do here. And they have only a couple days to get it done before the season. It did not sound like Igor Shesterkin wanted to do this during the season. And I feel like it could be they could be in a bad spot if they let this go to next offseason, so sooner rather than later. But it seems like, at least, you know, according to Elliot Friedman in this quote again, that the Rangers have made their decision that he will be extended. It just comes down to the numbers and, of course, the term over that time as well. So let me know what you think in the comments, and if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.